Hey guys, I just had to pop on here today because I feel so inspired to. I've been talking with a couple clients recently that kind of jogged my memory about how this conversation used to go for me many years ago and how it goes today. So welcome everybody. If you are popping on, please let me know that you're here by either saying hello or clicking the like button. I love to know who's here. This is going to be a super juicy topic, so if you have anybody that you would like to share this with, hey Sonia, feel free to go ahead and just hit the share button and let's call in the tribe. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Lisa Rose. I'm a love and intimacy coach. I'm the founder of Deeper Love, Better Sex. And if you are ready for epic love and soul-satisfying sex, I'm your girl. So I was thinking about back in my early 20s when I was fairly new to the whole dating thing. I mean, I had had a relationship in my late teens, but like the dating thing was still pretty new to me. And there were two instances in particular that I was remembering where I think it was somewhere between the second and the fourth date. It's a little bit of a while ago, so don't hold me to this. But we were still very new to each other, and I certainly didn't feel like I knew him well. I definitely didn't feel like I knew whether he was somebody that I wanted to deepen into relationship and invest my time with. So if you've ever been there, go ahead and just let me know, put something in the comments. You know, if you've ever been in that phase of dating where it's the discovery phase. You're kind of gathering data. You don't really know. And it's not necessarily the best time to be like making a big decision. And personally, I consider having sex with somebody a fairly big decision for a whole bunch of reasons. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with having casual sex, but I like to have it be a decision rather than a default. So what I remember is that we just kind of like defaulted into sleeping together. And I remember that there was no conversation about it. There was no, how do you feel about this? Is this what you'd like? Do you feel ready for this? Thanks, love. Is this something you feel inspired to? Do you have any considerations? Do you have any concerns? Do you have any diseases? Are you seeing somebody else? Like all of the things that today I definitely do in my pre-decision conversation, because I like to make an informed choice. But the biggest thing that I do is I don't talk myself into it, which means that I make that move when I feel ready and inspired, when it feels like a true desire, when there's no sense of should be ready or this is what I should want, or I think it's what he wants, or it's what I want to do. And I was, as reflecting on that, I was just like aware of this feeling of kind of like I was in this fog, you know, like I was just sort of like in this fog where there were so many things that I wasn't even considering, let alone acting in a choiceful, really clear way. So I'm going to fast forward to how it is today, and then I want to really share with you some of the things that have helped me get there where I am today and what's different as a result. So about a year ago, I was dating a man, and hey you guys, please say hello if you're joining. I was dating a man, and he was really clear in the beginning of our dating that he wanted to take things really slow, particularly sexually. So I mention this especially for all you women who have this idea that men just want one thing and men just want sex and you have to go at a certain pace. You do not. Hey Tabitha, I think that's your name. There are so many men who really want to establish connection first, who want to get to know you first, who have their own considerations and don't necessarily want to just jump into a sexual relationship. And for him, what was true is that had been his habit. He had been in the habit of moving really quickly, and then oftentimes having the relationship blow up because there wasn't a foundation of safety and trust and good communication, and he really didn't want to repeat that. So that's a really good thing to want to avoid. Actually, any habit or pattern is a really good thing to want to avoid, because the thing that's missing from a habit or pattern is a choice, right? It's just something that you do automatically. So with this guy, we had a lot of conversation with that, and he expressed to me what was important to that about him. We talked a lot about pacing. We really kind of broke it down, and we continued the conversation. And that conversation was a big part of what built intimacy between us and what built trust between us. And then one time we were hanging out and we were having a really nice time. We'd spent the day together. We were in a really sweet space and we were making out, and it got hot. And I kind of paused and I said to him, okay, I want to pause. I want to check in, because you had expressed a very clear preference and a very clear desire. And I want to make sure that what we're doing now is consistent with the boundary that you had requested and the pacing that you had requested. So I just want to name this because it's totally possible at any point in the sexual exchange to push the pause button and to say, hey, I just want to pause. I just want to pause. Have any of you guys ever done that? Go ahead and hit the heart or the like button if you've ever done this, or if you'd maybe like the idea and like to try it. And the reason this is such a great thing to do is I feel like anytime I'm not 100% present, even if a little small part of me is checked out or not 100% in, or I'm sensing, because we're all very sensitive, that my partner is not 100% in, that is a really good time to push the pause button, because connection, for me anyway, and I certainly hear this for most of my clients, connection is actually the most important thing. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can just see what you're saying. I actually haven't found that to be true, Tabitha. There might be some tweaking in the way that you're saying it or something, but I hear that, that's certainly a possibility, but it hasn't been my experience around rejection. So when I paused, it's like I could feel him, when I invited us to pause, I could feel him really land in his body. And he really looked at me, and he so appreciated that I was actually kind of taking charge in that moment of honoring the boundary and the request that he had made. And it's not like we stopped and like something that was really great ended. It was like we just came into a different kind of connection. And I think we chatted, and then I remember we were laughing. It's not like it, quote, broke the mood, because if anything, it deepened the sense of connection and of intimacy. And like this feeling of relief was so palpable, because his pattern and his habit had been, once you start, you just keep going. So it was kind of actually new and novel for him to have the experience both in his own body and with a partner of like, okay, well, we were going down this particular trajectory, but there's 100 other options that we can now go that are just as fun, just as exciting, they're just different. So I wanted to kind of point to that and highlight that, because there's a really big gap between the earlier experiences that I was describing, where it was like there really wasn't a lot of checking in, there wasn't a lot of conversation, there wasn't really much of either one of us saying what we did or didn't want, and there definitely wasn't that pause, even though I know along the way I certainly was not feeling all in. So I want to just kind of name some of the things that have shifted for me. And these are the things that, as they begin to shift for my clients, it's the exact thing that makes their sex so much better, that goes from like mediocre kind of sex to like really good sex, because they're all in. So the first one is I've gotten much more connected to my body. I really can track my own signals and my own desires, and what a yes feels like and what a no feels like and what I'm a not sure feels like. So I'm referencing what I'm actually experiencing, and that is my number one biggest guide and compass. I'm going to try to see what you guys are saying. And then I'm able to be in communication and express that with my partner. So it might be something like, yeah, I'm just feeling like really going slow. I'm not really feeling like I want to necessarily be sexual. Let's start with some cuddling. Let's start with some other kinds of intimacy. Let's kind of like, and if I know that I only want to go so far, I don't make that nebulous. I really spell it out. Like I might say, I'm just getting to know you, so I'd like to make sure that our clothes stay on this evening. That can actually be really hot. Like, again, that does not have to dampen the mood or dampen the fun. There's lots of different ways to experiment and explore. And sometimes having a parameter and a boundary that you're going to stay inside of creates a lot of safety. And then when there's that safety and that trust, like that's a catalyst for feeling more free. You guys get that? That makes sense to you? I want to see some hearts or some likes if it does. So getting comfortable with my own body, getting comfortable expressing needs, wants, preferences, desires, checking in with him, asking, where are you at? What are you feeling in your body? What's going on with you emotionally? What are your preferences? Do you have any limits? Is there anything that you want me to know? All of those things help us actually come into more connection and more relationship. And then one of the big ones, I really cannot emphasize this enough, is that magic pause button. Permission to pause. If I notice myself, cool, I'm so happy to hear that, Jose. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. If I notice myself checking out even a little bit because I'm distracted, because I'm not 100% in, because I'm not feeling he's 100% there. I'm using he because I'm in demand. So, you can change not the adjective, the pronoun. Is that a pronoun? I think it is. That pause button is it's like a safety net, but it's also the thing that builds in assurance and builds trust. So if you guys haven't ever used the pause button, I really recommend that you try it. And it's a really nice thing to kind of get some consensus on with somebody that you're either just dating or maybe somebody that you're actually married or partnered or been a long time lover with. You're like, hey, how about if we have an agreement? How about if we try something that going forward, if either one of us ever feels like you're not feeling me fully present or you're not fully present, let's just pause and let's check in with each other. Let's take a little weather report. And I think there's sometimes this fear, which is just complete bullshit. That like if you downshift, if you go from really hot in gear 5 and you downshift and chat a little bit or do a check-in, that somebody's going to get pissed off or it's going to ruin the mood. If you're with somebody who's getting pissed off because you want to share something that's going on with you or you want to slow down, that's really good information to pay attention to. Or if you're getting pissed off because your partner has a need or a feeling or something come up, one of the things that changed so much for me was when I started seeing sex in a much bigger way. So that sex started to include if emotions come up, if feelings come up, if a memory came up, if there were tears, if there was laughter, if there was a lot of feelings. Like that was all part of it. And what that has allowed me to do, and it's so transformative for my clients when they start to get this, it's like it's all part of it. You don't have to be afraid of any of it. It just creates so much freedom. And the sex actually gets a whole lot better for that very reason of you don't have to leave any part of yourself out. So I really hope this was helpful for you. I'm actually sure that it will be because I gave you some really good tips today. And as you're popping on or as you're catching the replay, please be sure to say hello and leave a little comment. Let me know like what part of this really resonated for you, what you might start to try, what you're already doing. And again, you're welcome to share this. And if sex isn't going so well for you, if you're not having as much of it as you'd like, if the sex that you are having is kind of and mediocre, and you really just don't know what to do to change that, or if you feel like you've reached a plateau and sex feels kind of routine or kind of boring, or you're noticing yourself checking out, or you're feeling like, trauma will come up in sex. It will. And if that's happening for you, if you're having memories, if your body's freezing, if you're disassociating, I really want to encourage you to heal that, because the sex will be so much better for you on the other side of that. So I think I've got one spot open right now for a Let's Talk About Sex chat, which you can apply for. It's a 20-minute chat. It is complimentary, but I have to know that we're a fit. And basically we're a fit if you are ready to change that. If you've decided that you're not going to keep talking yourself out of having really soul satisfying sex. If you want the bar to be soul satisfying sex. Shoot me a message. You don't have to make a comment here if you don't want to be public about it. Just shoot me a message, and if it feels like we're a fit, I will send you the application. We can get on the phone and change it so that you love your sex life. All right, you guys, you can also find me at deeperlovebettersex.com, and I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.